We're talking tax, and this time within the real estate sector. We have Kenneth Erikume joining us now alongside Ewenla Mustapha. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And we saw the letter that the CEO of SBM Intelligence received from his landlord. What do you have to say about that? And withholding tax, what is it? Does it apply in this context?
Okay, very good question. And what I noticed, based on the controversy in the media space, is that a lot of people are slowly beginning to understand tax gradually. And one of the misconceptions I need to lay out is that the laws have not changed as it relates to taxation of rental income. So if the property is being rented out to a business or a company, that's when withholding tax applies. And that withholding tax is an advance payment of tax. So it's not the final tax. It's just a way that the tenant, being a corporate or a business, deducts the tax in advance, and later on the landlord will then pay and take the withholding tax as a credit against their final income tax. So rental income has always been subjected to income tax, and if it is a business renting, has always been subjected to withholding tax. In practice, what you see a lot of landlords do is to build it up as part of the cost of the rental. So it's not unusual to see, even in the past, it's not coming from the tax reforms, some companies renting out buildings and stating the amount of withholding tax separately from the rental amount. If the building is being rented by individuals do not deduct withholding tax. So they'll pay the rental income to the landlord in full. The landlord is supposed to declare that income to government and say, this is part of my income, and tax it normally as part of their, their tax declaration. So if it's a corporate SPV owning the property, then they would pass it through their tax computations and subject it to tax at 30%. If it's an individual, they'll receive that rental income. Some of their income might have been declared already if they are employees themselves through the payee scheme. They'll bring in that rental income separately and tax it. Now, one of the things government is just or the outcomes from the tax reforms is that people are now conscious that government would have more information. So they are now more inclined to declare that income, which they were not previously declaring before, and tax it accordingly.
So this letter that Cheta received is not out of place if the property is being rented as a corporate entity.
Correct. If the tenant is a corporate entity, then it's not unusual. It's been the practice. However, government has always tried to discourage you adding withholding tax as a separate line on the rental cost. But in the real estate industry, it has been a practice and a norm that a lot of landlords will then separately charge the withholding tax from their rental to tenants. So it has been a practice. So maybe this is the first time he's receiving it. But being in this space for a long time, I've seen this practice in many letters.
All right, and I'll come back to you, especially as regards tax relief within the sector with this new tax law. But I'll come to you, Ewenla Mustapha. You interface with the landlords and the property owners directly. Yes. How are you advising them? How are you advising them in line with this new tax law?
Okay, thank you very much. So what we have seen recently with this new tax regime is, I must really say that we've seen very conflicting information everywhere, or conflicting interpretations by different people. Particularly if you go on social media, you see a lot of content creators churning out content, even though they know nothing about how tax is being run. Now, with this case of this dude who received the letter about to pay an extra withholding tax. Yes, the last speaker said it. Withholding tax is not paid. Is not supposed to be added to that computation in the first place. It's supposed to be deducted from the person paying that money. Deducted from that person from the amount of money he's supposed to pay. If his rent is 2 million, for example, he's supposed to deduct 10% withholding tax and remit to the tax authority, not for the estate firm to add it onto his rent and to now make it, more than what he's supposed to pay. So I think a lot of us need to understand how these laws apply.
Okay.
Because since last year June, when this new tax regime came up, there've been lots of apprehension, lots of interpretations everywhere. But I mean, and I've seen Taiwo Idile, speak on several forums about this new tax law.
Right. And our time is fast spent, but I do need to get this final detail from you, Erikume, the tax relief for renters. Let us into that and what it's about.
For individuals that are renting property, there is a 500,000 naira deduction they can get if they declare who their landlord is. So the plan from government is to say, well, if your rental, is not significant, then declare the rental, who the landlord is to government. So government can, on the other side, be able to, tax the landlord. And this has been a space from a policy perspective that the government has not been able to crack. And this, the idea here is to grant relief on the one hand, but also get more information, on the government side to be able to tax landlords. So that's the idea.
Okay.
There have been questions on whether it is enough, enough relief, because when you look at the calculation, if you're using about 25%, the top band,
So sorry, our time is fast, but there's evidently so much more that we need to talk about as regards tax and how it impacts the real estate sector. But thank you so much for your time. Kenneth Erikume, partner at tax PwC Nigeria. That is as much as we can take. And thank you very much, Ewenla Mustapha.